Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Area 5 Conference. I am Jim Barr, your Area 5 representative. The Illinois Retired Teachers Association is geographically split into 6 areas. Area 5 comprises 23 counties in Illinois' east and central region. I serve as your area representative on the association's board of directors. Today, you will hear all about the latest news and information from the association, our lobbyist and legislative affairs team, the political action committee, our TRS annuitant trustees, a recently completed external organizational assessment, and member benefits from our great partners at AMBA. This conference will be recorded to share with other members who could not be with us today. Chats in the lounge or in speed networking are not being recorded. During today's virtual conference, the IRTA expects all members to observe all meeting etiquette rules, the same as if you were attending this meeting in person. Shortly, I will introduce our first speaker. During the speaker's presentation, I encourage you to write any questions you have in the chat or in the Q&A dialog box. You may also use the raise hand feature to ask your question live if your computer or device is capable. If you click the raise hand feature, the AirMeet technical host will bring you on stage to ask your question live. Additionally, for the hearing impaired, I encourage you to use the closed captioning feature. The closed captions are computer generated. Although not perfect, they are rated to be approximately 90% accurate and will surely be a boost for anyone who cannot hear very well. Click the CC button underneath your video window to toggle the closed captions on. After the meeting, everyone is welcome to socialize in the virtual lounge. We will also have a local president's meeting at table 3 in the lounge. You need to be using a computer to access the lounge. Before we begin, we have 2 $50 gift cards to give out as store prizes. Two more $50 gift cards will be given out at the conclusion of the meeting. Per the motion passed by the board of directors, members eligible for the door prizes must have registered and be present to win. The staff has entered the names of all registered members into the wheel of names, and let's now give the wheel of names a spin to see who our first winners are going to be. And the first winner is Gary Weiss from Decatur. So congratulations, Gary. And our second winner, this is getting too close. Jean Gift, congratulations. Jean is also from Decatur, so congratulations to both of them. I will return at the conclusion of the conference for final remarks and spin the wheel 2 more times for 2 more winners. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the president of the Illinois Retired Teachers Association, John Flaherty, for the State of the Association address. John?
Good morning. I want to thank all of you for being members of our Illinois Retired Teachers Association. We are able to stay a strong and vital force that fights to protect our pensions and benefits because of the strength and support of our members. I extend an enthusiastic welcome to your area representative for hosting this event, our Vice President, Bill Funkhauser, members of the Board of Directors, IRTA Executive Director Jim Bachman, and the IRTA staff. and all others in participation today. It is exciting to be here with you at this, our first virtual area conference of this association. Because this has been a year filled with unprecedented experiences and challenges for countless organizations, many of you may be wondering how our association is doing. Therefore, I want to begin the conference by first assuring all of you that the association is strong and secure. Here are a couple examples. Membership continues to steadily increase. During the past 5 years, the IRTA has outperformed peer associations who reported just 2% growth. Our association performed at 7% growth. The national median performance was 5% growth. Our renewal rate is statistically significant. In each of the last 5 years, the association experienced 90% retention. The mean renewal rate for individual membership associations is 78% nationwide. Today, we are more than 39,000 members. Membership growth and renewal success is attributed to systemic membership changes made by the membership committee led by our committee chair, Mike Schmidt, with the assistance of the Director of Marketing and Membership, Nathan Mihelich. It is important that I point out that these successes are especially noteworthy given that the association is impacted with a passing of approximately 80 members every month. The member loss is a sobering fact and demonstrates that our commitment and investment in membership efforts cannot be underscored strongly enough and must continue. The association is financially strong thanks to skilled fiscal management by the Board of Directors and Executive Director Jim Bachman. The association reports close to $2 million in total equity as of today. In 2020, donations to the foundation exceeded all previous years on record at $360,000. This was up from $293,000 in 2019 and $320,000 in 2018. Programs supported included grants to current teachers, scholarships, and housing assistance. In the election year that was 2020, the Political Action Committee's income and political donations equaled approximately $75,000 each. Total expenses were $123,000. Membership in the $1 per month PAC donation program is at 5,526 members. We eagerly encourage everyone to join. The amount in the Legal Defense Fund was at $153,000 as of December. With all of our external challenges, the association, foundation, and Political Action Committee each continue to fulfill their missions at every level. We have fulfilled these purposes with a combination of new practices, agility, and with fortitude for success. Two of our most recent great achievements were: one, the successful virtual mentoring program. The virtual mentoring program, executed by Jim Bachman and the association staff, matched any Illinois student with a retired mentoree and tutor during the early months of the pandemic when school was at home and both teacher and student were new to learning virtually. The program was offered free of charge to students of any level of assistance. The program was a tremendous success, and the association received exceptional media exposure for our selfless retiree volunteers who gave countless hours during a period of great need. Second was the We Care program, in collaboration with AARP to let our members, many of whom were homebound, know that they are cared for and thought of during the most anxious early months of the pandemic. The association reached out via Facebook and email for this popular program, and we hosted a virtual webinar to offer support and listen to their stories. All were very well received and appreciated. It is clear that the pandemic brought about changes to how our organization operates. I am proud and thankful to see how smoothly we were able to roll out our virtual meetings, to get work done via telework, and to perform with flexibility while adjusting many activities conducted by the association. There may even be more changes required in the future, however. Therefore, to make sure that our association remains valuable and meaningful, we need to reevaluate this organization, beginning with the Constitution and the bylaws, and we recently conducted a needs analysis of day-to-day operations. The Executive Committee hired an independent consultant to analyze our constitutional structure and existing operations. Final recommendations from the consultant included changes to our Constitution so we can operate more virtually, a more realistic role to the responsibility of volunteers, and a full analysis of boards and committees to determine if each is meeting the needs of our membership. As delegates to our biennial convention in Springfield in October, you will be voting on several of these proposed changes. I would encourage all of you who are interested in attending to work with your local units and become delegates to our convention. October's biennial convention is the most important business meeting for the association, and this is where we elect leadership, set policies, and procedures for our organization. As we look forward, we will use the resulting recommendations, the progresses already made because of the pandemic, and our overall flexibilities as a platform to us to speed up our transformation to an organization so that we will continue to grow and prosper and always be prepared for the unexpected. Thank you for allowing me to describe the present status of the association. Thank you again for attending this virtual conference. Let's begin with the formal program. Our first presentation is from our Legislative and Government Affairs team that will give a legislative update. And if you followed the recent legislative session as I did, I know you may all have some concerns. It is my pleasure to introduce the association's Executive Director, Jim Bachman, our association's contractual lobbyist, Andrew Bodewis, and our Legislative Affairs and Grassroots Coordinator, Courtney Hayes. Jim, Andrew, and Courtney.
Well, thank you, John, and good morning, everyone. Today with me, I am Jim Bachman. I'm the Executive Director of the Illinois Retired Teachers Association, and with me today is Courtney Hayes, our Government Affairs Grassroots Coordinator, and Andrew Bodewis, our contract lobbyist. It's great to be here with all of you. Today we're going to talk about a little bit about legislation and items that Courtney will be working on in the next couple of months that are pertinent to the association. Let's start off by, I know the last couple of years, Andrew, that we've been working on some health insurance trip refund with the Department of Central Management Services. Can you tell us a little bit about where that legislation is?
Absolutely. So we filed language on Senate Bill 2168 this year that would have allowed for, or does allow for, folks who overpaid their trip or trail premiums to get a refund of that. Currently, CMS limits those refunds to 6 months, and we wanted to expand that to 7 years. And we filed similar legislation a year ago, but because of the pandemic, the General Assembly didn't act on that or really much of anything else. So this year filed Senate Bill 2168. It moved out of the Senate. Unfortunately, it hit a little bit of a snag in the House, but we took the exact same language, brought it over as an amendment to Senate Bill 1056. That was a joint effort from Democrats and Republicans who support the IRTA. They got that amendment filed on 1056, and that bill is now on the consent calendar and is moving along, and we're looking forward to passage.
Well, and I know in the past, in the last few years, and we had passed it previously and the governor had signed it, but we had some difficulties with the department or phrasing of the actual language and so forth. Is the department now on board?
Yes. So we sat down with the department, had multiple phone calls with the sponsors and with the department, and they understand the group that we're trying to help, and they have agreed that once this comes into law, that they're going to move expeditiously to get those refunds processed.
Is there any other pieces of legislation right now outside of the budget that we are looking and following?
Yeah, so there's a couple of bills out there, and these are familiar bills. We do this every 2 years, but these are the bills that extend the return to work extension. So for folks who have retired, who want to come back and teach either in a subject shortage area or not in a subject shortage area, those things sunset every couple of years, and we have to extend them every couple of years. House Bill 2569 is the subject shortage area, and Senate Bill 1989 is the standard 120-day extension. So both of those bills have moved through without any no votes, and are, again, both are on the consent calendar and both are poised for passage.
And, I'll just stop right here for a moment just to say that if you have any questions, please use your chat or raise your hand function to ask your questions. And at the end of our presentation, we will attempt to answer any and all of those questions. So thank you. Before we go back to Courtney, give me a little bit of idea of what we're doing with the PAC right now, or what are we looking forward to? What are we doing to raise funds?
So right now I'm trying to reach out to all the locals. We are asking for our 2021 IRTA convention. If you can donate anything, any item, they could be monetary donations. So I'm trying to get all of that in order so we can have money for the PAC.
And it's, and obviously those are tremendous things, and it's a lot of fun when we're at convention, when people are bidding on different items and so forth. But it ultimately helps our cause.
Yes.
And what is that cause? Ultimately, that's electing legislators of the future and today and the present that support IRTA members' benefits. Andrew, tell me where we're at on budget these days.
Well, every as you well know, every minute it changes a little bit. From a global perspective, there's a lot of federal money that's coming into the state of Illinois right now, and that should help the state. As everybody knows, the state of Illinois has a long history of having budget woes. The federal money should help, but an interesting thing about the federal money is it's one time, so they can't build it into the budget and increase future year spending. And the other thing is that it comes with a lot of limitations that are set by the federal government on how it can be spent. It's supposed to be being spent to improve infrastructure, going to school districts to help with them increase and respond to sort of the last couple of years of pandemic impact, do more tutoring, more summer school, things like that. So the federal money is helping a little bit. From our perspective, from the IRTA's perspective, we haven't seen any proposals except for full funding for the TRIP and TRAIL program, so that's critical. There is discussion about a very minor change to the TRS certified amount, and it has to do with a small timing change that the General Assembly is considering. It might reduce the contribution a fraction of a percent. But realistically, the way I would describe it is right now we're looking at full funding for both TRS and TRIP program, which is a good place to be. The governor historically has talked about changing that, but this year we seem to be on pace to get the full funding for both of those programs.
And I know, just as a side, that I have seen that the Thompson Center in Chicago is now for sale, and I know that the governor spoke of last year, I think, in his budget address, that some of that money would actually go to funding of the pensions. Is that still on board, or the sale of some of these?
I think this year's not unlike every other year, where despite the fact that I think we will get full funding, I think it'll be pulling everybody over the line to get there. I always really appreciate when people talk about extra funding, but in 20 years I haven't seen it. I always leave the option open that maybe they'll change.
Right.
But I wouldn't spend that Thompson Center money just yet if I were the funds.
Okay. Courtney, I know that also that you're going to be working on another project this summer. Can you tell us a little bit about your project?
Sure. So I'm working on developing a legislative contact list, which basically means I'm going to be reaching out to our members in certain areas of the state, just so we have a list to know who would be open and willing to go meet with their legislators if we have any issues concerning whatever it may be. We also have a whole bunch of new legislators who we would like to get our name out. So I would look out for emails from me this summer and go from there.
Yeah, I think the list of grassroots contacts that we can reach out, especially in a year that Andrew, obviously, that one of the last and the final issues, that one of the biggest things that are going on in the General Assembly is the redistricting map. And so from that map, obviously, that we're going to have a lot of new legislators being elected and a lot retiring and so forth. So why don't you tell us a little bit where we're in that process?
Yes, so in the Illinois General Assembly, every 10 years there's a new map. And that means that, and then that is happening right now. As a matter of fact, we've just seen the map. We're still going through it, still analyzing it. So it's brand new, hot off the presses. But what that means is that folks' legislative districts are going to change. I'll just use Springfield as an example. So Springfield used to be divided up, between a couple of different representatives and senators and everything, and that area is completely changed. Quad Cities is another area that doesn't look anything like it used to look. And that's true throughout, and especially as we talk in the suburbs and the city of Chicago, because each rep district is about 100,000 people, each Senate district is about twice that, 230,000 people, 220,000 rather. The districts in Chicago and the suburbs are much smaller than they would be, say, in the southern part of the state. So those areas have really changed a lot. And that means for a lot of you that your rep and senator may change. And so this is a political thing, right? This is a political animal in that these maps are drawn by Democrats in Illinois right now, this time anyway, and last several times. And they are designed to put as many Democrats in the House of Representatives and the Illinois Senate as possible. So there's a lot of political angst. Having said that, that doesn't mean that every Democrat in the House or Senate is necessarily going to be happy with this. So there's a lot of data that's going to be coming out. There'll be a lot of lawsuits on all of this. At this point, all we have are proposals. But it'll certainly be an issue that really impacts every one of our members. As that changes and as that forecasts what the future of the General Assembly looks like. As part of that process, there'll be retirements, there'll be new folks that are coming in, and the state IRTA is going to be really working to develop a lot of new relationships. And we've had some experience with this every couple of years for the last few times. We've had a lot of new people come in, but that will amp up over the next 2 and 4 years.
Well, I think that also obviously adds to the whole conversations, the whole use of what data we're using in the census data, that we really haven't got a complete data report and so forth, and so there are estimations, and so I'm sure that a lot of it will be in the courts and be settled by the courts at the end of the day. Just a final last note on some of the things that is crucial that I continue all that if you've not signed on to Voter Voice yet, I please advise you to do that. The critical times of the session, we reach out to all of our members that we have emails to on Voter Voice and telling them about issues and telling them, once you're registered in the Voter Voice platform, you actually immediately are put in your legislative districts, and so when you respond to them, they immediately get your email. So I ask you wholeheartedly to sign on to the Voter Voice. So once again, thank you for all, and we'll move on now to obviously answering your questions.
That's right.
Here we go. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here today. We have a couple questions that we've gotten in today. Courtney, why don't we start with you and just give us a little bit of an update on where we are with the PAC auction items at this point.
So fortunately, the local units have been able to start meeting. So the donations are slowly but surely starting to roll in. I will say to make this the silent auction a success, local unit participation is greatly appreciated and needed. If you can donate an item, if you donate a monetary donation, it will go directly to the IRTA PAC fund. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me directly. You can call the office or email me. I will say, if you are able to participate, please contact me before August 20th. I will go ahead and send out another reminder to everybody. I know, I don't know when everybody's meeting, but I'm still waiting to hear back from a lot of units. So I guess once you get the reminder, we'll just go from there.
Thank you. Andrew, I see we have a couple questions concerned. The first one's dealing with the teacher shortage bill. Can you provide us some information on that?
Yeah, so several things going on. So I think the question is kind of obviously there's a teacher shortage in this region and really throughout the state. And there were some efforts to continue to use retirees to help deal with that subject or with that teacher shortage area. So the first one, subject shortage area, that was extended. So this is when a teacher can return back for the whole year. That was extended, and it was actually made simpler. The school district has to go through less hurdles to use that subject shortage area, so they don't have to post in the newspaper and some other things that were cleaned up on that subject shortage area for retirees returning. The other one that was extended was the 120-day extension. This has been extended several times over the past 20 years, and it was extended again this year. There was also there was a third option that was brought up this year, discussed. We were in several meetings with the sponsor, Shushir, and IEA and others, where they wanted to, when there is a teacher shortage, they wanted to be able to allow that to just be sort of a carte blanche subject shortage area, regardless of the subject matter. That bill ultimately didn't become law, but we had a lot of positive conversations about it, talked to the sponsor. We anticipate the sponsor will refile that bill next year.
Thank you. Another question we had is dealing with the MAP and the lawsuit that has been filed by the Republican Party. Can you provide us a little bit of an update on that?
Absolutely. So the MAP was passed this year at the end of May. The Republican Party has filed a lawsuit on it, as has a group of representing primarily Latino business persons, and they have a very similar lawsuit filed. The MAP happens every 10 years, and every 10 years the lawsuit from the minority party also happens. And every 10 years that lawsuit is not successful. It goes to a court that has been historically controlled by the Democratic Party. Having said that, I think this year's a little different because they weren't able to use census data because of the lag from the Federal Census Bureau in getting those numbers out. So I still would bet against that lawsuit being successful, and I would still bet that the Democratic MAP is going to carry the day. But I do think the Republicans have a better shot at that lawsuit this year than they have in the previous MAP cycles in the previous 10 years. So little up in the air. Again, I think I'd still bet that the Democratic court will side with the Democratic Party, but who knows?
And finally, just the question is, with the former Speaker Madigan being gone this year, how did that affect things in Springfield?
Yeah, so after 37 years, we've got a new speaker. It's worth pointing out that it's not only the Speaker of the House who's new. We have a new Senate Minority Leader, Senator McConkey. We have a relatively new Senate President, Senate President Don Harmon. So really 3 of the 4 leaders have started during or sort of right before the pandemic started. So everybody's pretty new. But again, Speaker is the biggest one because of the 37-year history. Speaker Welch is the new Speaker. He's did fairly well this year. I think he achieved much of what he wanted to achieve, maybe not all. We're seeing a process that's a lot less top-down than we've seen in the House over the last couple decades. But it's still a little too early to call. We'll continue to monitor and see. But the transition was relatively easy.
Well, thanks you, both of you, and it is now my opportunity. Got one more question. How would members know if they have overpaid on trip?
Yeah, so this is a great question. This is the legislation that we pursued this year and ultimately got incorporated into Senate Bill 1058. You would have to contact CMS and find out if that were the case. So there is no requirement from CMS to notify you if you had in the past. If you were concerned, if you have a question, my suggestion is contact CMS, let them know that you think you might have, and ask them to check for you. You probably have to provide a couple of points of information. Are you Medicare eligible? What rate were you paying on? But they should be able to check for you relatively quickly and let you know.
I would say though that 9 out of 10 times that most of our members have not overpaid. It's if not more than that, in the sense that it just slips through the cracks every once in a while.
Yeah, probably 999 out of 1,000 members haven't overpaid.
All right. Well, thank you once again. It's my pleasure now to introduce Ed Woolett, the chairman of the PAC committee, and everybody have a good day.
Hello, my name is Ed Woolett. For the past several years, I have chaired the IRTA PAC committee. The committee is composed of 18 regional representatives and the chair. There are current vacancies on the committee from regions 4, 5, 8, 10, 11, and 12. If these vacancies remain unfilled, the members from those regions will have no voice during the 2022 endorsement and election cycle. Please consider a member you know who might want to fill a vacancy. The Illinois Retired Teachers Political Action Committee, IRTA PAC, was conceived as a way for our members to support General Assembly candidates who pledged to support retiree benefits and issues. Candidates for governor were later added to those eligible for IRTA PAC endorsement. Endorsements are based on supportive issues, and no consideration is given to political party or other non-member issues. To be considered for endorsement, a candidate must complete a questionnaire developed by the PAC committee with cooperation from the IRTA staff. Once reviewed, approved candidates are scrutinized by looking at their voting records and/or campaign platforms, recommendations from local units, and staff input. Final endorsed candidates are eligible to receive PAC monies, letters of endorsement, use of IRTA logo and campaign literature and advertisements, IRTA yard signs, and more. During the last election cycle, 35 of the 45 IRTA endorsed candidates were successful in their election bid. The lifeblood of IRTA PAC is the monetary donations received. Many of you will remember passing the hat at local meetings to support the work of the PAC. Several years ago, a second option was added, the $1 per month club. Members can sign up to have $1 deducted from their monthly pensions designated to go to the PAC fund. Over the years, the $1 club has outpaced all other methods and provides about $5 for every $1 raised by other means. We can do better. Of approximately 38,000 members, only about 5,500 have signed up. That number should be much higher. And as area representatives, you can help and be our biggest cheerleaders. Another means of funding occurs at our biennial convention. The monies raised by the silent auction of local unit donated items go to the PAC fund. Many of you will remember 2011 through 2013. The General Assembly had voted to substantially reduce public employee pension benefits. That assault was successfully challenged and ultimately averted by the IRTA. The case bears the name of IRTA member Doris Heaton in Heaton v. Quinn, but the cost was high, over $500,000. Supporting IRTA PAC $1 per month club can help save us expensive litigation and years of uncertainty by helping to elect those who in turn will support us. Please help us by asking each member in your area to join the PAC fund and each local to support the biennial raffle. Thank you for inviting me to your area conference, and I'm open to any questions. Good morning. Again, thanks for having me at the area conference. And I'm not seeing any questions about the PAC, but I would just remind you that in Area 5, we do have a vacancy in Region 12. And just to reiterate that vacancy is crucial in this next election cycle, which is next year. Having someone in place in that region gives a voice to those members who are members of locals within that region. So just a reminder about that. The PAC fund, while it's doing well, we are only at 14% of the total membership that contributes to PAC. And again, that should be much higher. It's much less expensive to elect those folks who at least have an opportunity to support us and who have said they would support us and our issues than it is to defend against legislation that's been enacted into law and do that in the courts. So please encourage your members to join that $1 per month. What a small amount of money for a large gain. Please remember the auction. Ask the locals to provide, would we take money? Always. But honestly, the participants at the convention love to go through the exhibit hall and look at those things that have been provided, and often have a regional flair to them. So please remember to do that. And again, I see no questions. So with that, I'm going to introduce our two trustees on the TRS board, Larry Pfeiffer and Doug Strand, and thank them for their service to us.
Thank you, Ed. Hi, friends. It's good to be back with you, even if virtually. I do miss the days of the face-to-face meetings, but until that happens, I guess we're going to rely on these and social distancing and getting vaxxed up. So that there is an end in sight. I truly believe that. So, well, let's go over a few numbers today as we talk about an update on your pension system. And I want to thank my friend and communication director, Dave Urbanek at TRS, for getting me the numbers, and there's lots and lots of them. So let's get started. Unfortunately, we're going to start with kind of a somber and a sad statistic. To date, we've lost 416 members, both active and annuitants, due to the virus. And I hope you share with me just a brief moment of silence and keeping their memory and their spirit alive in our hearts. It is sad that this pandemic has had such a large impact on us all. Let's talk a little bit more about the hard numbers of TRS. You can take a look at what our finances were, just a whisker under $60 billion. Keep in mind this was fiscal year numbers. They're showing $54.9 billion. You'll see here in just a bit that the numbers over the last 16 months have been literally all over the board. Revenue this year was about $6.2 billion. Our benefits paid out, and this is the part that you're interested in. Your monthly checks have come, and they're over $7 billion. Investment returns just for the fiscal year, net of fees, was just a little bit over 0.5%. But we'll talk more about that later. Let's skip down to our funding status. We're around 40.5%. Yes, that's low, but that number has been pretty static for about the last 20 years. We're still a very, very large pension system. Let's talk about our membership. What makes up a TRS member? You'll see it's about a third between actives, inactives, and folks like us, benefit recipients. The average pension paid out is about $60,000. Now, let's break down membership breakdown a little farther. We're all active, we're all Tier 1 members. You're noticing that there are more and more Tier 2 members. And it looks like just in about 3-4 years, we're going to be about 50-50 split between the Tier 1 and the Tier 2 members. But at the same time, I know you're interested in just the Tier 1, our current benefits. I would show you that we have an active member out there still teaching in the classroom at 81 years of age, and that makes me smile. We see that our oldest TRS retiree is 109 years of age, and then there's a few other numbers in there for you to skim through. Let's talk a little bit about what happened in 2020 and the challenges and how TRS responded to them. Top line, bold, underlined, TRS member services were unaffected. And that is incredible given the circumstances we had as TRS. Their staff did a significant amount of work from home, but yet unaffected membership benefits were processed. In addition to that, we had an increase in claims. More and more people left the profession of teaching and retired. It looks like it was up 3,600, or they processed 3,600 claims. And they still continue to take phone calls, do staffing, meetings, weekly gatherings. I've got to give the staff at TRS a great deal of credit from what my perspective as a trustee has been. Again, if you ever have problems with TRS services, reach out to myself or any other trustee. We'd like to help get you the assistance, but usually we don't have to worry about that. The staff has done a great job, and I give them full credit for working through some really tough times. Our next slide shows you what I call kind of a yo-yo effect of the markets and investing. Look what we were January of 2020. We had about $54 billion in assets, and just a few months later, we were down to 48.5. That's an 11.8% drop. We were concerned, but at the same time, I think you'll see a little bit later on, our investments are so diversified and so focused on having upcycle, meaning when the market's good, versus down cycle, we can make money going both directions, or at least minimize those losses. Later that summer, we were at 51.6. Then September, the fall of the year, we're about even at 53.5 billion. And then a year later, we're up to $57 billion, a 17.5% increase from March, the low spot. And then following our latest number is we're just shy at the end of March of $60 billion at $59.3 billion in assets, a 22.3% increase from the market low. Or the next slide will talk about the investment returns, kind of us versus them, and that's always good to look at. If you look at all those numbers crammed in there, I think the most important thing to look at is our long-term, skip down to line 30, our 30-year returns for 18, 19, and 20 are well over 8%. And that's what we as TRS look at, the long-term investing returns, not only for us as annuitants that are already out there retired, but that first-year teacher that has their first deduction taken out and put in the pension system. We have to say, yeah, the pension system will be solvent and be available for you to retire someday as well. And I think it says that very well. Whether you're 85, 65, 45, or 25, TRS will be there for you. Our current rate of, our assumed rate of return is 7%. So we're performing well over the long term. Okay, let's go to the next slide and look at what TRS did in relationship to the world, the rest of the world. See the blue arrow there? no one wants to brag about having a down cycle. We were down 9.95, about 10%. NASDAQ was down 17.8. S&P 500 was down almost 20%, and the Dow Jones was over 26.2%. So you hate to say that you lost less, but we did. We lost less. Something else to keep in mind is TRS has to be very liquid because every month we have to make those payrolls. So we can't have it tied up into long-term commitments. We have to have the liquidity. Liquidity is also good in case there are bargains to be had, and there were several of those that we were able to pick up during some of the market swings that were so volatile. Again, it's worth noting at the bottom of that slide that our 10-year, 20, 30, and 40-year returns, except for the 20-year, which includes in that cycle the down market of 08 and 09, but yet long-term results are very, very good. Let's take a look at our next slide, the challenges that TRS was able to deal with. Retirement, we're up 9% more than a year ago, and over 31 more retirees per month. There's an awful lot of folks that did the big surges, and you can see that they went out during some tough times. What impact do you have with your benefits into the community? TRS economic impacts are big in this state. We have over 250,000 TRS members that live in Illinois, and we have $11.1 billion in earnings, billion with a B. And the economic impact is over $16 billion. You can see that there's a lot of additional data sets that are there, and those numbers are important, I think, to share with elected officials when they talk about the pensions, and you can share about the impact that you personally, as well as the collective group of teachers, active and retirees, have on the Illinois economy as we spend during good times and bad times. Given that, I think it's important to remember if you have any questions about TRS, I encourage you to contact Member Services, whether they're working in Springfield or from home. They've done a great job in getting you the information you need. My friends here at the Illinois Retired Teachers Association can field your calls, or if you have specific questions for me or would like to start scheduling some upcoming fall and winter meetings, I'd love to get out on the road and see you again. But until that time, stay safe, mask up, get your vaccinations. Be well, my friends.
Hi, my name is Douglas Strand. I'm a retired school teacher from United Township High School in East Moline, Illinois. I am the other retired annuitant who was elected to the TRS board a couple years ago. I am very proud to be a representative of the IRTA and am here to help talk to the different groups concerning the TRS and what we do. One of the challenges that we have today is inflation. You may have heard it on the radio, on TV. It's here. Some people say it's coming. I say it's here. And we need to be very careful about that when we look at investments and the TRS assets under management, known as AUM, assets under management. Larry gave you some statistics. We were up here, we dropped down to 48, we're back up to close to 59.2. And we're, the people there who are making the investments are doing a good job being very careful, looking at inflation, looking at risk, looking at the rewards of the different investments that we make, of which there are over 150 different managers we work with outside of the TRS. It's a big job, and I think they handle it pretty well for the situation they just went through and have gone through over time the last couple decades. I would like to talk to you about another challenge that we have on the TRS board. It is to find a new executive director. We have been without an executive director for a few months now, and we are in the process of trying to find one. There's a search going on at the moment. We have hired an outside firm called Korn Ferry, Kornferry. We've been in discussions with them. They have given us some brief updates. There has nothing been finalized yet. We're waiting to have the candidates brought to us to interview and talk to a little bit more. And what I'm personally looking for is someone who can understand, of course, your investments, all the different indexes, the accounting background. There's also something to be said about marketing, communications, but I believe that I believe the person should be well versed in the accounting and finance area and have an understanding of people, because the TRS is a people job. You know, you are dealing with thousands of people in their livelihood, not just the 190 some people or more who work at TRS, but the retired educators from across the state. Many of them, again, as Larry pointed out, live in the state. I personally, there's been talk to where should that person come from, whether it's you know, he or her. There was talk about them maybe living outside of Springfield. I personally would like to see the person be part of the Springfield community. Thank you for your time and effort. Have a good summer. Thank you much.
Good morning, Doug, and good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity to participate virtually. And I'm looking for questions, and I'm not seeing any. Doug, do you think it'd be okay if I gave a slide update on the ever ongoing June board meeting?
Yeah, it's been interesting, Larry, and thanks for taking the lead here a little bit. Go ahead.
The TRS board was scheduled to meet Thursday and Friday, which is not uncommon, but between our governor and our president and the implementation of a new federal holiday, our Friday board meeting was abbreviated because it was a state holiday for staff, but we did have an executive board meeting that we met at briefly, and we came out of that with no action, but yet at the same time, we as a board will meet, I guess it's Wednesday now. Tomorrow at noon to approve a budget and do some other activities that will hold us through until we do some more issues. So we're current. The board's performing well, it seems like. Would you agree?
I believe so. It's a good working group, and it's a very diverse group. But I think it's a good group, and I'm hoping we continue to agree to disagree on things and keep it on the table. So it's been productive, and as you said, we're working toward the executive director position. I know our next meeting is August 12th and 13th. I have written down here. Open for questions. Go ahead.
Well, I would again like to thank the membership of IRTA for their support and their endorsement of my candidacy. I'm officially going to be completing my first term as a trustee, and the experiences that's brought me, personal experiences and knowledge, is just incredible. It's hard to describe. I'm looking forward to a second term of service on a board that I hope to continue to serve well. That is my hope. And I make myself available for both your comments and your criticisms, because I know I've got them coming some days. So thanks for the opportunity to serve. Doug, it's been a pleasure serving alongside with you.
I was going to say, you know, we get calls, and I ran into somebody at a flea market just Monday, and he says, "Thank you very much, Mr. Strand, for making sure those checks come in and direct deposited." They appreciate it. I'm up north in Wisconsin, and it was 41 degrees last night. So it was cold, but it's getting a little better, and I'm looking out here, it's awful nice. So yeah, we the support the IRTA has and the TRS staff for all of the retirees, it's phenomenal. It's a great organization, and I'm glad to be and proud to be part of it like you are. But there's always something, they throw something at us every so often. So thank you, Larry.
Doug, I hope you enjoy your day. I hope that the other participants enjoy their day. And I think at this time I have the distinct pleasure of introducing your next presenter, and that's Bill Funkhauser, that's going to bring you up to date on some research, a survey, operational survey. And so with that, Bill, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. The past 15 months exacerbated present challenges for many organizations, including the Illinois Retired Teachers Association. Local units have not been able to meet. Area representatives and regional directors have not been able to visit their units. The IRTA Board of Directors, the Executive Committee, and the standing committees have not been able to meet in person. We have all learned about Zoom meetings, and while it's a good way to take care of business, you miss out on the personal interactions. We have all had to make changes in the way we do things, and this includes the Illinois Retired Teachers Association. With the forced necessity to think about how we do things, it was felt that this would be a good time to take a hard look at our organization. We decided to contract with a consulting firm to do a review of all aspects of IRTA. We sent out a proposal for bids, and after receiving the bids, it was decided to contract with Brewer Pratt Solutions to conduct a review of our organizational effectiveness and provide recommendations for systemic and constitutional changes to ensure the organization remains viable, resilient, and financially strong. To accomplish this, Brewer Pratt used the following processes. First, data-based assessment of relevant materials such as the IRTA Constitution and bylaws. A Zoom-based kickoff meeting with senior staff members. A Zoom-based focus group with board members, 4 or 5 per group. In the first session that I participated in, there were 5 of us, with Elise Brewer Pratt, the chief executive, and Andrew Chamberlain, chief strategist for Brewer Pratt. Andrew is British and had a very nice accent that we enjoyed. With just 5 participants, we were able to have a lot of involvement from each person. An online staff survey and follow-up with one-to-one phone calls. An online full membership survey where an email with a link to the survey was sent to all members who have an email address on file. An online board competency self-assessment exercise where again an email with a link to the exercise was sent to all board members. And an online survey of volunteers who staff the committees where again an email link was sent to this survey to all committee members. After gathering information, Brewer Pratt then compiled a 30-page report with 41 recommendations for possible changes in our organization. The recommendations were grouped into the following categories. First, organization with 11 recommendations, volunteer engagement and management with 12 recommendations, staffing with 6 recommendations, and governance with 12 recommendations. Some of the recommendations are for procedural changes and others constitutional changes. It was easy to see that Andrew had written at least part of the report because his British accent came through with terms such as whilst. After having time to individually review the report, the Executive Committee held a Zoom conference with representatives of Brewer Pratt to go over their recommendations and to ask questions. Then, after having time to consider what was said in the Zoom conference, the Executive Committee held its first in-person meeting since 2019. This gave the members a chance to again ask questions and discuss among themselves the recommendations of the consultants and to decide which of the recommendations the committee feels should be implemented. As a result of this discussion, the Executive Committee will be sending its recommendations for procedural changes to the Board of Directors and recommendations for constitutional changes to the Constitution Committee, who will then decide which possible changes to present to the Delegate Assembly at the convention in October. I will be glad to try and answer any questions that you may have. Good morning again. I'm looking, I do not see any questions at this time. As I had mentioned, there were 41 recommendations that came to us with the report from Brewer Pratt. When the Executive Committee looked at these, there were some of them we said, these are not things that we really think we would be interested in doing at this time. For example, one of the recommendations they made was that we consider whether or not we wanted to continue owning property. Well, we have to keep in mind, first of all, that the association does not own property. It is the foundation that does. And the foundation owning the building is something that we think is a good thing to continue. So that was one of the recommendations. We said, no, this is not anything we want to consider. Others, procedural changes that possibly could be done. One, they recommended that we come up with a strategic plan, looking ahead for 3 years and see how we plan for our association to look after that period of time and what we want it to be doing and how we are going to accomplish those things. This was a recommendation that the executive committee is sending on to the board of directors to go ahead and come up with the strategic plan. Another is that in our board meetings themselves, that we have a consent agenda where routine items are simply agreed to by consent unless someone wants to discuss them in detail, in which then they would come make that motion and we would then consider that and talk about it. Others of the proposals are for things that would require changes in our Constitution. The executive committee again looked at some of these things, discussed them, and sent them on to the Constitution Committee, which will be meeting on July 7th to review them and decide which of those they will then recommend on to the convention and the delegate assembly to be voted on in October. Now, as was mentioned earlier, this is the time where you get a voice in what is happening with your association. So, contact your people in your local unit, go to your local unit meetings and become a delegate to the convention, where you will then be able to take part in deciding which of these changes we want to pursue. And maybe even you say, no, we don't think this is a good idea, but it's a chance for you to do that. Again, I do not see any questions coming up, so I'm going to introduce the next speaker. It's a gentleman who I'm sure many of you have seen at your local meetings. He's been involved with AMBA for many years now. He has attended local meetings and presented the benefits that we have available to us. Recently, he's been promoted and is now the Midwest Regional Manager of AMBA. So I'm sure, even though he has this added responsibility, he still try to get to some of our meetings because I know he's always enjoyed them. But anyway, I'd like to introduce to you our next speaker, the Regional Vice President of AMBA, Larry Newman.
Good morning to all Illinois Retired Teacher Association members. My name is Larry Newman, Regional Vice President with AMBA. I've been with AMBA since 2009, starting out as an agent, then as a district manager for the past 8 years, and now in my new role as Vice President of our Midwest region. As I'm speaking, please type any questions that you may have in the chat, and I or one of my colleagues will do the best to answer any questions at the end of my presentation. In my role, I work closely with the staff and Member Benefits Committee to make sure that all members and prospective members have the best-in-class discount programs and benefits designed to work with your current health insurance. AMBA has been in business since 1981, and the partnership we have with the Illinois Retired Teachers Association goes back to 2004. One of the original benefits is the dental program from Emeritus and the vision plan with VSP. I can assure you all that both of these programs remain staples within our suite of benefits and are still a primary reason that a new retiree will hopefully become a member of your association. Over the years, we have added several new discounts and benefits, so be sure to go to your newly designed website and print off a copy of your benefits in the members only section. There you will find two of our newest programs, the Children's Whole Life from Mutual of Omaha and the Fixed Indexed Annuity program from Emeritus. I will be providing a few slides about these programs in just a few minutes. I'll also provide you with the contact information of our Illinois district managers, Nancy Kramer and Gary DeVito. Each of these individuals will be excellent contacts for you to discuss any new programs that you or your family members might have interest in. We will also provide you with a direct QR code so you can request a benefits review via Zoom or in person as we get back to some level of normal. This is something that we have done with thousands of members throughout the crazy year of 2020. We feel you will find this to be an educational and valuable experience. So stay safe and healthy. We look forward to helping you throughout 2021. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Gary DeVito, and I'll be providing a little bit more information regarding the programs that Larry had just mentioned, the new programs that is, which are the Children's Whole Life as well as the annuity. And just to reiterate what Larry had said, last year has been kind of a crazy year without a doubt, but we are happy to come to your local meetings and present either face-to-face or via Zoom. We've been doing some of both in various areas, so happy to help in any way that we can. Again, as for the newer benefits that we have, this new one here, the Children's Whole Life from Mutual of Omaha, has been very popular. What a lot of retirees are doing is purchasing this as a gift for their grandkids, nieces, nephews, or what have you. You can get a face amount of anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 for kids anywhere from 2 weeks old all the way on up to 17 years old. There's no medical exam that's required. Couple health questions. That's really all that there is to it. It's pretty simple. The beauty of this is that it's extremely inexpensive. For a whole life program, it is absolutely great. Just to give an example, for any child up to 4 years old, it's about $220 per year for a $50,000 benefit. It would take almost 250 years to pay into that to get the benefit amount, which for, again, whole life, that is just a tremendous value. There are some other inherent advantages with this program. There is a guaranteed insurability rider, which just means that once that child has that program in place, it doesn't matter what happens to their health down the road. They have the ability to buy more coverage at certain life events, such as getting married, the purchase of a home, having a child, or at specific birthdays. So as that child matures and has these life events, they can buy more insurance without any evidence of insurability. So it's a great gift to provide. It's really a gift of health in a way. Next, one of the concerns that we hear on a pretty regular basis is from retirees is that the money that they've built up, the nest egg, so to speak, they're concerned that they might outlive it. And for that reason, we've brought forth a new benefit. It's a fixed index annuity from Emeritus, which is the same company that brings your dental benefits. They are an A+ rated company. This particular program provides a guaranteed lifetime income, a lot of safety. It does give you competitive returns. In fact, one of the programs with this has averaged about 4.19% over the last 10 years. Another program about 5.67 over the last 10 years. It's a great hedge against inflation. It does protect your assets from market risk, although it takes advantage of the upside of the market, but you're guaranteed to never, ever lose money. So it's really it's a safe haven for the nest egg that you've built up. Again, Emeritus is an A+ rated company. They've been around for over 130 years. So they've been through World War I, the Spanish pandemic flu, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, Persian Gulf, and now the most recent pandemic. They're still an A+ rated company. Retirees are putting their money into this because, again, they look at it as a safe haven, at least as safe as a CD, but with much better returns. Again, you take advantage of the market, but never the losses in the market, which is great. There's no underwriting involved. Again, you take advantage of the market gains. Any type of money, whether it's qualified or non-qualified, meaning IRA or non-IRA money, can be used. There is great liquidity with it. It is long-term care friendly also. So if you have concerns about what's happening in the market and how your money is doing, feel free to let us know. We're happy to see if this might be a fit for you. And again, with the Children's Whole Life, same thing. These are two of the newest benefits. Feel free, if you have an interest in any of the benefits that we offer, you can take your smartphone and just hold it over this QR code reader. It'll take you to an AMBA website that you would be able to request more information. And then lastly, I'll just mention that Mrs. Jones was teaching her third grade class a little bit about George Washington. And she said, you know, George Washington cut down a cherry tree, and then he actually admitted to it. And she asked Johnny, you know, why do you think that his dad didn't punish him for it? And Johnny said, well, he must have still had the axe in his hand. At any rate, with that, I don't see any questions, although I'm happy to answer any. I will hand this back over to our Area 5 rep, Jim Barr. Jim, take it away.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. Hello again, everyone. I'm Jim Barr, your Area 5 representative. Thank you for your attendance today, and hopefully hearing these presentations will give you a much better understanding of the state of our association. We really did pack a whole lot of information into the last hour and a half, and we did it all virtually. Before we draw the final two door prizes, I do need to thank several individuals who make Area 5 so great. First, our regional directors, George Stone from Region 12, Levon Cheney from Region 13, and David Savage from Region 17, who serve with me on the board of directors. And then we need to thank all of the Area 5's local presidents, vice presidents, treasurers, and secretaries, and all of the other volunteers in our organization that helps make us the great Area 5 that we are. I would also like to thank the association's Director of Membership and Marketing, Nathan Milik, for executing the production of this webinar, and to the association's Member Services Coordinator, Tricia Clem, for manning the virtual help desk in the lounge. Technology isn't easy, and it is often frustrating. Our staff, however, has been great to help us when needed. If you ever feel the need for extra training or practice when joining a virtual meeting, please call or email the IRTA staff, and they are always happy to help you. I'd like to invite all of you who are using a computer this morning to socialize and network in the virtual lounge immediately following the meeting. Click on a chair and join a table and say hello, or click on Start Networking or to join the speed networking. In speed networking, you are randomly matched with another person for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, the conversation will close and you can get another match or go back to the general lounge. With some practice, I know you will get the hang of it. If you need help, look for the help desk with Tricia and she can answer your questions. All local presidents are invited to join me at table 3 for a president's meeting. And now let's draw for our final two door prizes. And actually, it's going to be 3 because you had to be present to win. And Nathan notified me that Gary was not present. So we have actually 3 to draw. So let's spin the wheel. And our winner is James Barger. Congratulations. And the next one is Ann Chandler. Congratulations, Ann. And the final winner is James Sparks. Congratulations, James. And that concludes the 2021 Area 5 virtual conference. I send you now to our virtual lounge, and hopefully as many local presidents that are present will meet me at table 3. Thank you and have a good day.